becomes even darker. For decades, powerful interests tied to the Israeli state have pushed the United States toward confrontation in the Middle East, particularly with Iran. In this view, the idea of a greater Israel and a central role in a future world order is not just about land or security. It is about trying to fulfill an end times vision and place one nation at the center of global power. Modern technology has become a tool in this project. Advances in artificial intelligence, robotics, and powerful data analysis platforms like Palantir are not neutral. They are part of an expanding system of surveillance and control that our own government eagerly embraces. Whether America wins or loses a war with Iran, the outcome for ordinary people looks disturbingly similar. More centralization of power, more justification for permanent emergency measures, and more willingness to sacrifice our freedoms for the promise of security. The people driving these agendas influence global finance, national governments, and the corporations that build our infrastructure. They shape the media that informs us and the internet that connects us. They already control much of the environment we live in. The final step is to gain deeper control over individuals themselves, what we think, what we say, and what we are allowed to do. If this war escalates, we are likely to see American troops on the ground in Iran and the reintroduction of a military draft. That alone would divide this country in ways we have not seen in generations. A major foreign war combined with a forced draft could push the United States toward internal conflict, civil unrest, and possibly civil war. It almost does not matter who wins such a war abroad. The end result at home could be the fragmentation of the country, the declaration of martial law, and a population pressured into compliance in the name of stability. In that environment, an economic collapse becomes far more likely. For years, I have warned about an authoritarian technocracy as our emerging form of government, a system that combines advanced technology, centralized data, and emergency powers to control every aspect of daily life. Over the next 2 to 4 years, we could see a deep global depression. Financial warfare is the most effective weapon in modern conflict, and once the dollar is pushed into an unrecoverable crisis, our government will face a choice between accepting a massive decline in power or tightening its grip and moving toward outright dictatorship. We all know which direction the federal government will go. These events will not appear random. They will unfold in ways that keep most people distracted, divided, and unaware of the larger design. Policies, crises, and responses will be presented as isolated events, but together they will serve a deeper purpose: to concentrate power in fewer hands, to normalize extraordinary measures, and to make resistance seem impossible or irrational. The federal government cannot afford a large-scale civil conflict until it has first sent many of our young men and women overseas. Protesters at home can be contained, monitored, and if necessary, imprisoned. We already see massive spending on new detention facilities and expanded security infrastructure. The real concern for the government will be trained veterans, especially those with special operations backgrounds, who understand guerrilla tactics, the realities of war, and have the capabilities to train militia forces. To counter that, we can expect an increase in propaganda about domestic extremism and enemies of the state, along with campaigns that encourage citizens to report on one another in the name of safety. All it would take is a serious incident or false flag during a major war to unlock the full extent of presidential war powers. At that point, federal forces could be directed inward, treating citizens as potential threats rather than the people they serve. Once that line is crossed, the chance to push back meaningfully grows smaller and smaller, and many will feel they have no choice but to submit and hope to survive.